I have a couple of stories for you tonight. One of them is about the great Australian dream. It may well become a dream very soon. And the other one is about something that's almost frowned upon.
It's the great Australian dream to own your own home, but for a growing number of households, they're one step from defaulting on their mortgage. Western Australia has been particularly hard hit with the end of the mining boom and increasing unemployment. But with high household debt, falling property prices, low wage growth across the country, the situation in the West could quickly become more widespread. Catherine Diss reports from Perth.
3 years ago, Andrew and Rachel Hayden built their dream home in Perth southeast. Now it's on the market and they expect a mortgage default notice from their bank within a month.
So I've put probably 600,000 into it. I'm probably going to sell it for 480. Shocking.
Their financial problems began when Rachel fell ill 18 months ago. The mother of 5 was forced to stop work and Andrews shut down his business to care for her.
Absolutely gutted. You do everything by the book. Everything. Just gutted for the kids, you know. They don't do sports or anything. And haven't, you know. Because you just can't afford to.
It's a common problem in hard-hit regions.
Look, they're pulling the heartstrings here. I don't like this segment. It's not very often not that often that people actually get sick and have to sell a property. What's alarming here is that they paid $600,000 for a property, and the husband estimated that they're probably lucky to get 480, so from 600,000 to 480,000.
Homeowners in dire financial stress.
Loss of income. Persistent loss of income because they can't get another job. Underemployment once they get a new job. And of course, overcommittal of credit before they got the job.
And it's leading to a rising number of mortgage defaults. But this isn't just a West Australian problem. While WA tops the list of the 20 worst performing postcodes, Queensland isn't far behind, with Victoria and New South Wales also represented. Credit ratings agency Moody's predicts the situation will worsen as a growing number of interest-only loans become principal and interest, adding around 30% to monthly fees. 40% of all loans funded by the banks during 2014 and 2015 were interest-only. Financial counsellor Siobhan Meerman is seeing a growing number of people on the verge of losing their home, including people in their 60s who've worked all their lives.
I think it's going to continue as it is for quite a while because what we're seeing is the knock-on effect of poor lending, bad market, downturn of jobs, and that doesn't peter out quickly.
There are whole communities out there who are living week to week, hand to mouth, where the slightest disruption will create a major problem.
So people are living hand to mouth, right? People are living hand to mouth, yet they have to borrow money and buy a house. What happened to good old-fashioned renting until, if ever, you can afford to buy it?
Ratings agency S&P Global says the serious problem of mortgage arrears has been rising over the past year, but it's stabilised in recent months. The agency is not concerned at this point because it says most households have some protection.
A lot of the loan-to-value ratios, which are really an indication of the level of equity built up in the loan, the majority of those are relatively modest, around 60% or so. So certainly we think that, most borrowers have built up a reasonable level of equity in their home loans so that there is a degree of buffer out there to absorb a level of property price depreciation.
S&P sees rising unemployment as the biggest risk to households, despite weak income growth, a rundown in savings and high debt levels.
Because if you look back at past economic cycles, the number one indicator or contributor to mortgage default is loss of income, which is generally caused by unemployment.
For the Haydens, they're still hopeful of selling and renovating a bus. That'll be their next home.
Oh, lovely. Okay, next story. Okay, so this story is about renting. Ooh, renting. You must be poor if you're renting. Or not, in my opinion.
Renting is on the rise, with official figures showing more than 30% of Australians are tenants. In Victoria, rights have tilted towards renters, with new laws allowing pets and minor modifications without landlord approval. While renters have welcomed the change, property groups are questioning whether it will make rental housing less attractive to investors. Daniel Rosifo reports from Melbourne.
More than a quarter of Victorians rent in more than 500,000 properties. Now the government wants them to feel at home.
She said, well, you're disabled. You're a single mum. We don't take single mums. I need to stay in this house because all the things I rely on are here.
Sweeping reforms passed into law give tenants the right to have a pet, ban rental bidding, and limit rent increases to once a year. There are now new minimum standards, meaning homes must be weatherproof, have hot water, and locks that work.
In years gone by, people often rented for a really short period of time. They might have rented briefly while they were a student or in some sort of transitional arrangement. Now we know more and more people rent, and they rent for life.
While some real estate bodies claim the laws could cause landlords to exit the industry, the peak body for Victoria's community sector said the changes simply cement basic standards.
Look, I think being a landlord is pain in the backside already. You are kind of serving your tenants as much as they're paying your rent. And whenever they have a problem, they call you or the real estate agent, and you have to foot the bill and fix it. Now these conditions are even more onerous, where as a landlord, so-called, you have to honor all these other requirements that are put in there by the government. So it just makes being a landlord or buying and being an investor in a property less attractive.
Crimea River, if people think that they really can't afford to have an investment property, they can't afford to put a lock on a door or have an oven that works, they shouldn't have an investment property in the first place.
The Property Council has been broadly supportive of the laws, but questions whether it makes rental housing less attractive as an investment option.
You might actually see, in effect, a withdrawal from certain segments of the market. Landlords worried about their investments, doing extra due diligence on potential tenants, maybe lifting the price, the weekly rent, and you might, in effect, see a withdrawal from lower ends of the market into higher price ranges.
Acknowledging the trend towards longer rentals, the lobby group wants government support for the build-to-rent asset class. Standard apartment developments are paid for with upfront deposits and then settled on completion. The longer-term return on build-to-rent requires free land or tax incentives to make it work.
That asset class is actually completely underpinned by long-term tenancies, 5, 10, 15-year terms. And the reason is, again, long-term tenancies, secure tenancies, good tenants is actually financially advantageous for a landlord.
We're giving renters more security and the ability to make their rental house a home.
More for governments to think about as the number of Australians owning a home continues to dwindle.
Daniel Siffer there.
And there you have it. Talk again soon. Bye for now.